Hey Titans, so if you haven't figured it out already, we're drawing these traits so that you could use them to imply things about you in what's going to become a personal logo. So we might have talked about how, for instance, the company or the artist who drew Superman's logo was trying to imply certain things about him, like his super strong strength. And they implied it by using the shape of a diamond and that really bold S. In all the logos, one of the most important parts is identification. All the logos that we've talked about have some form of identification. For Batman, it's just a bat. This Nike logo, for those people who don't know it, it often comes with the word Nike. The Coca-Cola company has their word in there, and even Michael Jordan's logo is basically his silhouette. So all of those things have some kind of identification. So we're going to go back to our survey one last time and look at this little box that you put, hopefully your nicknames, names that your friends or family call you, or maybe your sports number or something like that, and use those things to identify us in our own logos. And to do that, we're actually going to go online for this part of the project. We're going to go to a couple websites. I have some websites listed right here that have different kinds of fonts. So you could look on your survey and remember the descriptive words that people use to describe your style and you. And maybe you could look for words that suit that style in there, because even though your identification's main purpose is to identify who the logo is about, you also can imply things about you through selecting the right text. So if I were, like for example, back to our regular logos, if I were a company that wanted to show that I was very strict and strong, I wouldn't want to have wavy, fun, silly-looking roller coaster ride Coca-Cola letters. I might want to have something a little bit more straightforward and bold. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to access and use some of those sites. All right, Titans, so here we are on the computer. I went to Chrome to find some of my favorite font sites. Now, I'm not going to go to all of them because they all basically work the same way. But if you go to defont.com, which is my personal favorite, Font Squirrel, 1001 free fonts, or cool text, pretty much what you can do is just look through the site. For example, these are different categories and each of them has several fonts. So if I was looking for something like, I thought maybe that I was kind of someone who dresses retro, I could click the retro button and see what it has to offer. And if any of these stand out to me, or if I feel like that they really suit me, they might be something that I should use in my logo, especially if you would describe them in the same ways as some of the ways that you would describe people described you. Or I thought this one suited me really well. I could then go to the download button right here, and when I click it, you'll see that little blue arrow come up over there, and if I double click this, some things will open up. So I can go here, I can get the font that I actually want, double click the TTF file, and then this will open up and I'll click install font. So the font that I chose should pop up, and I might have to click one more thing like check it off and click yes or something like that. It doesn't seem to be happening here. So to fast forward in the project, when I go to the text tool and I type in my name and highlight it and then go to type font, I can look down this, and if I remember the name, which by the way, you should be writing down the names of all the fonts that you choose. I remember the name, I can look it up, and I now have that text in Illustrator. So for the final part of the project, when you get to it, you're not actually going to draw this on Illustrator. You're going to get it for free because all these sites are legal sites that allow you to use their fonts for free in most cases. If you find a font that costs money, obviously we won't be able to get it, but most of these sites are mostly free, so you should have plenty of things that you could look through to find one that suits you best. All right, remember these are for our logos, and logos are supposed to be graphic, so this is probably the furthest detailed you could get. Anything with like gradients or fades or things like that, too much detail, you want to really avoid. Out of the things that I've been popping up on my screen, solid letters like solid blacks and whites are really way better to use than grays as far as clarity, which is important to a logo. So this is a little bit different of a site, so I wanted to show you this one. I can go in here and click whichever one I like. I could type in my word,
But that's not really the important part. Like, it'll give you a preview if you type in a word here. What you want are the details and download. So you're going to click that, and it's going to bring you here. And you could download the Arkanoid font here. So if I download it, it's otherwise the same. I double click it, it opens in this. Double click the TTF file. This part comes up, I click install font. This is the thing I was talking about before, so you might have to click this and install checked. And then when you go to Illustrator, hopefully it'll be there. I'm gonna highlight it, go to type, font, and that was Arkanoid, so there it is. So this is a good example of what not to choose, because this is just too detailed to really suit a logo. Picture yourself driving in a car and you're passing by a sign that has a logo on it. You want to be able to recognize that sign instantly, so you don't want too much detail. You just want the information that you need to recognize the identity of what it is you're looking at. So McDonald's wants you to know that they're McDonald's and not any other fast food chain, but they're not going to put this much detail in this directly in their logo. They might come up with other variations of their logo in the future that has something like that, but that wouldn't be the logo that they'd really use commonly. I put up the other sites so you could see all 6 of the ones that I'm posting here. You could use all those 6. Hopefully the tech department will cooperate and have them all open. You can also find more free font sites on your own and see if you could use those. But these are between the 6 of these, you should really be able to have plenty to work with.
Welcome back, Titans. So the last step we're going to do, once you have 4 different fonts picked out from those websites, I actually left the space for 1 so that if you want to hand draw it yourself, you can hand draw one of your fonts. But you basically want to, preferably even in different nicknames of yours, you want to have 4 different fonts. So you might have like your initials in one, your full last name in the other, maybe it's your full first name for another one, and then maybe a nickname for one. But all those are in 4 different fonts, and only one of them can be completely hand-drawn. The rest should be downloaded in the way that I just showed you. After you've done that, after you have them downloaded, you could just load them up onto the computer and type in your names in Illustrator to see what they look like. Because you're going to start drawing what's called your final thumbnails now. Your final thumbnails are basically just taking 2 of your shapes from your original 12 drawings and combining them. So basically, for example, I'll show you with, let's see, I took this wildfire and this friendly oval to create what's going to ultimately, I know, is going to become my Squirrel Man logo. But in other cases, I might have taken one abstract item from my abstract page and one figurative item from my figurative page, or I might have chosen 2 abstract things. But you want to come up with 4 separate thumbnail drawings, and the reason for this is if you go into a business where you start designing logos in reality, you're going to have clients. You're not always working for yourself. In fact, doing the personal logo is just my way to make you enjoy it, but in reality you would probably make a logo for a company if you were a designer. And whenever you get a job like that, you want to have multiple ideas that you could bring to that client, so that if they don't like your first idea, because your first idea is rarely your best, they'll have other things to look at, and that way, they'll definitely find hopefully something that they like, and you'll keep that job. Otherwise, if you show up with only one thing to show them and it doesn't suit them for whatever reason, you're out of a job and the next guy's going to get it. So I'm asking you to draw 4 separate combinations, including pictures from your original set. And now that you've bothered to download that text, the very last step is to add that text in them. Now you actually want these to be your best drawing ability, because we're going to take pictures of these or scan them and have them on the computer so that you could trace them in Illustrator. So you really want this to be your best drawings. They don't have to be absolutely perfect, because you could try and make them a little bit better using Illustrator, but do your best work at least. It's also important that you know that all this paperwork that I had you do way back from your survey, all of your 12 drawings, and your 4 thumbnails, all those things are collected as one full grade before we get to the second grade of the project, which is going to be transferring it to Illustrator. So I also wanted to show you that I have some student work up here. So this is where the project is going. Before I was a computer arts teacher, I taught using hands-on materials in art. So some of these are made out of construction paper where students did the same process to come up with their ideas for their logo, but they cut it out on paper instead of drawing it on the computer like you guys are gonna do. You could watch the parts on how to transfer your logo to Illustrator Next after you have your 4 completed full-size thumbnails done, including your identification. All right, Titans, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please leave appropriate feedback and feel free to subscribe.